Hello, Hockey World. How you doing? It's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday, November 6th, 2017.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I'm Michael Agello.
That'd be Michael Agello. If you can hear him well, hope you can.
I heard him.
And I am Eklund. You're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. We got it really fast because Mike has to go to the morning skate for the Maple Leafs. But Mike, just give us your quick impressions on this trade, and then Russ and I are going to unpack this thing. So, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Well, for Nashville, I think it's a good move. Turris, especially getting Turris signed on a 6-year deal for a reasonable salary of $6 million. Apparently, Pierre Dorian said in the press conference this morning that Turris never offered them an option of a 6-year deal, which sounds to me a little bit like sour grapes from him. But I like the package of prospects and draft picks that Colorado gets. Russ can tell you more about Shane Bowers and Hamanov and Girard than I can, but they get 3 draft picks, so that gives them six picks in the top 3 rounds for next year's draft. Where I have a problem with this deal is Ottawa. They get Duchene, but this is Ottawa pushing. They're in a win now mode, but this is them pushing things down the road here. They were not interested in spending money on tourists because they have to sign Carlson. I think Mark Stone in a couple years. And all this means is that Duchene is essentially a rental because he's got another year left on his contract. And then more than likely, Duchene's going to be in the same place that Turris is, in the sense that they're probably going to trade him or move away from him because they don't want to spend that kind of money. So it's good in terms of Ottawa and Nashville being able to stay competitive this year, but I really have a problem with Ottawa going forward.
One quick thing about that, Mike, before I let you go, the one question I'll ask you, and then when you're gone, Russ and I will prove why you're completely wrong. But for now, I'm going to say this. This definitely does change the balance of power in the Atlantic. The Atlantic Division. I think Duchene's a better player than Turris. I think Turris. I think there are reasons they didn't want to extend him. I'm kind of surprised that Nashville did. But that's my feelings. So, but what do you think? Does this put this obviously throws the gauntlet down? I mean, you've got Tampa is the top team in that division. You've got Toronto. Then you have Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. You have Tampa's going to win the division, or they're going to at least make the playoffs. So you figure you got 2 positions, and maybe no other team make the playoffs, right, from that division. Because it could be just 3 teams out of there. What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure how much of an improvement over Turris Duchene is. First of all, Duchene has played wing more than center the last couple of years, and Turris was the de facto #1 center for the Sens. Now, obviously, they're going to put Duchene up the middle, but Colorado moved him off of center probably for a good reason. And I'm not saying he's not a good player; he's a very good player, but I just think that I don't know if the improvement, whatever slight amount there is between Turris and Duchene, justifies giving up your first-round pick in Bowers and another first-round pick and a third-round pick and basically they did that because they get another year out of them, and that's it. And that's a pretty hefty price to pay. But I'll let you and Russ talk about that.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. Enjoy the skate. Have a good time tonight. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay.
All right.
Hey, Mike.
All right. So Mike's gone. Let's talk about him. All right. First off, thanks guys for all your help last week.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dealing with my son's stuff here. For some of you guys who've gotten out, some people have been talking about it. He's not doing much better, but we're working on it. So I'm going to do as best I can here. So thanks so much. And anyway, okay. So this trade, I mean, it's fascinating because we always judge trades so many different ways, right? And you can say that the short term, or you can go, who wins the short term. In my mind, the short term is always won by the team that gets the best player, right? That's how I always think of it.
Sure.
People overwhelmingly believe, when I put the survey out there on Twitter, overwhelmingly 54%, something like that, to 26 and 25 or whatever it was. Those numbers don't add up, but that's the gist of it. Think Colorado made the best deal here. They didn't get the best player, but they might. You never know. I guess you never know with the first or second or third round draft pick. So
that's true.
They could end up with a bit, although it won't be the top 10. We know that, right? So it won't be a top 10 pick. Still, you're going to have to, Duchene, Torres. I mean, I think in my opinion, Nashville gets the best right off the bat because they don't lose anything really off their team that's affecting them right now, and they pick up Torres.
Well, I mean, Gerard was starting to have a little bit of an impact for Nashville. He was.
No, he's definitely a player, no question about it.
So you have to say they did have a little bit of a loss there. Nashville does well because they get Torres locked up, and Torres is the perfect number 2 now behind Johansson. Like, that's his role. Perfect. I mean, that's
right. Oh yeah.
This is better than Nashville's been up the middle as far as having guys who could actually put the puck in the net in a while. No slight to Mike Fisher or anybody like that, but this is like youth and some size and some good speed, and now it's a 1-2 punch that a lot of championship teams have. So that's a big deal. The other big deal, and you're not going to like this, is I think Andrew Hammond will be their backup goalie. I think UC Saros has 1 foot out the door already, and I think this is some good foresight into getting a guy in case Saros doesn't turn it around. That's what makes this important too.
No, and I think I do agree with you on that one. And I wrote 2 days ago, I think in my sleep deprived days that I had heard that the Predators were, just. And I said, I think I'm going to be written in there. I'm not even sure. I was thinking it for sure that Russ would be happy about this because that the Predators were trying to get a defense. We're trying to get a goalie.
I'm not happy about it. It's just
that you would feel vindicated that the Predators were trying to get a goalie out of this. That they were trying to get a goalie, and that wouldn't be too surprised. And also that they wanted an extension with Torres, which I think is what held it up from happening on Friday. I think the extension was the problem with that one.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's what I've heard. But there's a lot. Some people are saying it's just which picks are going back and forth and stuff like that. I really think the Predators weren't going to do this unless they got an extension.
The first clue besides that article, the article always shows that there's smoke. But then, Sakic was traveling with the team in Philly, and we don't always see Joe Sakic. He didn't come in last year, I don't believe. And so that was surprising to see him. So I kind of knew something was definitely up. Duchene played really well in Philly, and then, of course, he gets pulled the next game. So you knew then it was a fait accompli.
Yeah.
Duchene looks great. Like, he is the best player right now in the trade. There's no question about it. Now, I initially had that same reaction as Mike, like, well, so far it's a rental because there is no extension. But apparently Duchene, because he's from Halliburton, may be inclined to stay there, so maybe they can lock him up. And whereas Torres, they felt like, that was a little bit more than they wanted to spend. So we'll see. We'll see with Duchene. If he does a Shattenkirk kind of deal, then this could be a really great deal for Ottawa. If they lose him, then it's a Keith Yandel deal to the Rangers, and you hope that you win in the time that you have him. Yeah,
exactly. And I would have liked Ottawa to somehow keep Torres, around for this at least one more year and just gone for it. Like that.
No, but I was talking about Torres leaving this week on this show.
Yeah,
and so I had a feeling this is even before the article was written. Like, I just knew he was going to go this year, and I finally decided to talk about it now, and it just odd luck that.
Yeah, no, it was very apparent that that he wasn't happy in Ottawa and wasn't going to stay there. And we don't see that too often because they put some pretty significant deals on the table for him apparently, and he just was.
I'm sure. I mean, look, I'm sure they tried to keep him. He's a heck of a player. He's still got upside. I believe there's still some upside on Kyle Turris.
Oh yeah, I do too. He's had a weird career, in terms of I'm not going to say prima donna-ish, but has that reputation, which kind of came from a little bit.
I understand where that comes from, but he also at the start of his career didn't play on a great team either.
No, right, but he made sure he got out of there too, which is never really respected in the NHL. If you're on a bad team, and he made sure he got out of there. He held out to get out of there. Remember the whole thing? It was kind of crazy. So he moves out of there, goes to Ottawa, just does play very, very well. He's obviously an incredibly talented player.
Yeah, once he got to Ottawa, you could really see when he had a few better players around him, a little better system. No offense to Arizona, they just weren't where they were supposed to be at that time with him. You saw a jump in his play, and that was obvious.
Yeah, it was, and and I think that'll be huge in Nashville. This does give Nashville a heck of a lot of up the middle. Like you said, a lot more power. It's one of those things that it's fascinating to watch a team like the Predators. Kevin Allen tweeted out something today, which I retweeted, which I thought was so true, that David Poile has been able to make trades. Like everybody, all the GMs, when you talk to GMs all the time, the constant line from them is, I'd love to make a deal, but it's impossible to make a deal in this environment. It's possible. You can't make a trade. You can't make the cap numbers work. You can't. Everybody wants more than you can give up. You hear it all the time. It's. We don't hear it from Poile because you don't hear anything from Poile because he doesn't talk to anybody in the media. But at the same time, for a guy who basically comes off as like an incredibly conservative, quiet GM, he was actually one of the most ballsy GMs out there. Like, for the stuff he pulls off, like he does things that are just.
Well, I will say this: he's gotten more aggressive the last few years.
Yeah, but I think that has more to do with Nashville's ownership wanting to be more aggressive than him just suddenly becoming aggressive. Like, I think he's very much a good GM in terms of the fact that he's a company guy, that he'll do what you tell him to do. If you say you got to put a winning team out there at the salary cap floor, that's what he'll do.
Yeah.
And he's good at that. But at the same time, I think what's happened here in Nashville, last year. Obviously the Subban. I mean, look at these. Look at the Johansson trade, the Subban trade, and now this. I mean, those are three of the biggest, probably three of the top 5 or 6 trades in the NHL over the last couple of years, all made by the Predators.
Yep. No, it's true.
Yeah.
It looks like this deal was so fluid last night when I was hearing it. Maybe Hammond, the chat room was saying maybe Hammond ended up staying in Colorado, and I guess seems like he has.
Yeah, they weren't sure what was going to happen with that either. So. I hadn't seen it too. I think it maybe is, maybe isn't staying.
I don't know yet.
I know at one point Predators were. I apologize for that. If we got that wrong, but because I know the Predators were trying to get that part of the deal.
Me too, and so I don't know. I can't give a definitive answer. The other thing I could say, look, this deal you can never say definitively because you don't know what Colorado is going to do with that first and third. Whether they draft those guys, they trade them. You don't know what's going to happen. Odds will tell you probably one of those 2 draft picks will make the NHL, maybe because it's a first, but it's still not a guarantee. I think Bowers is pretty much like an 80% second line center in the NHL, a really good one who definitely could put points up. Is he a Matt Duchene offensively? No. But he's a really good 200-foot guy, and he might be better defensively than Matt Duchene, a little more physical. Duchene's certainly a little bit more of a flashier offensive talent, but Girard is certainly a very flashy defenseman. And the thing about it is, if he goes where I think he can go, a 50, 55-point guy at his max, you can't get those guys on the open market generally.
No, that's really true. I mean, the Avalanche did a lot for their future. There's no question about that.
They did.
And they're still young enough. Their core, the players they really care about there are still young enough that they can do that. Like they can. McKinnon's got a long time to go still. He's still a young player, so that helps him. And on the Hammond thing, I've heard both. I've heard that he was going to stay there. I've also heard that they are going to move him along. So much so that basically I heard that was one of the sticking points. And I heard that the idea was, okay, is Hammond going to be? Where is Hammond going to end up? I think he's still going to end up in Nashville. I'm not positive about it either, but I still think that's going to happen. And I think part of this. The weird way it went down last night has to play with all this indecision because the way it went down last night with, Como getting hurt, Duchene sneaking off the ice behind him, like you can sneak off the ice, there was no question that they didn't want that at this point, Sakic realized that he had a deal close enough that he could make it happen. But the second he takes Duchene off the ice in that game, he admits to making the deal practically. So he's in a tough spot there. And I think that this Hammond thing, was still hanging out there in the balance a little bit. So, there's no saying that, he couldn't just be there for a little period of time. We've seen it before where a player goes to a brief, period, and then they work out the actual deals. And he doesn't actually report. If he reports, then we know where he's going to stay there. But that's what we'll find out, I think that for the most part. We were involved in this one time before, Russ, where we saw, if you remember the Peter Forsberg situation in Philly, where he goes and takes the morning skate, or takes the warm-ups and doesn't come out for the game.
Yeah.
But it's even crazier when you think about a guy coming out for the game. There was definitely stuff going on for him to put him out for that game. That was Sakic playing his cards, Is cool.
Yeah, I think scouts were looking at him in Philly. Yes. Saw Duchene have a good game. Sakic was there, so they, definitely talking to him. And then by the time that next game rolled around, it got so close that, yeah, you're right. You got to pull a guy because you can't have him get injured, because that has happened before in other sports and kill the deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always fascinating. I know Duchene's happy. I know he did play did he play in the juniors near there too, or he played near Ottawa? I thought I'm trying to remember.
No,
he played somewhere near Ottawa.
No. He played for the team that has the Army theme to it.
Right.
What the heck is somebody else know in the chat room?
Yeah. But anyway, this is so how does this change? How does this affect the balance of power? I guess is the big question. So we look at this and we say, okay, now we see at this point you have the Central Division, which is really tight. So the Predators adding Taurus, I think, helps the Predators. It maybe pushes them into a playoff spot. Hard to say. It's so hard to tell with these things because the NHL is so crazy.
It is.
Does one player push them in? But when you think about all they have going on, it still comes.
It doesn't hurt them.
It doesn't hurt them. It basically helps them in terms of the fact that you're going to have to deal with injuries, right? So, if everybody's healthy, it helps them. If someone gets hurt, it helps them because you have another player who could possibly not be hurt. Essentially, we saw that last year with them. In the playoffs, if they had,
Brampton Battalion, because there's the Brampton, there's the Army base.
Yeah, that's right. Is it Brampton close to Ottawa? Am I losing my mind? I think it is.
I don't know how close it is. I've been to both.
I sound ridiculous.
I've been to both, but I can't tell you.
I sound ridiculous. Sorry. Like I say, I've been out of touch a lot this past week, but I agree. I think Brampton's
close. It's not around the corner. I know that. It's definitely a drive.
Right. So in the Central now, does this push the Predators into the playoffs in your mind, or does it keep them? Are you still like this is anybody's game?
No, the Predators, I think we're going to make the playoffs anyhow. I still think they will shore up that backup goalie spot one way or the other. Now I think what this does is it shores them up for a longer run. I think that's what they're trying to do is get short, because I think they looked at the battle up the middle as you get into the playoffs. And what if they did face Pittsburgh again? Well, now they've got two bigger centers than they've had before. That's a pretty, that makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah, and they've got to get their defense healthy. But once that happens,
but we're assuming they will. So I think they definitely are a playoff team. Ottawa's in flux. Like, Ottawa could be a playoff team. They might not be. Duchene could go like gangbusters here. Again, we don't want to make too much out of Matt Duchene. I don't think he's ever scored more than 65 points.
Right.
But he still can get 20 more goals this year. That's possible.
He brings a lot of it. And the situation, the kind of players you're playing with depend, on that too. I think this is a really good move for Ottawa in terms of the fact that I can see him working really well with like the Hoffmans and Stones of the world, like those kind of players. Like I can see that. Yeah,
he did have 170-point year and 167-point year. So
he's
incredible. He's been getting between 55, 59, 30 goals. So he's got 4 goals. He could definitely get a 30-goal season. That wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, when he's at his best, he is amazing. And he is I remember talking to Adrian Dater about him several times, and he's incredibly streaky. Dater will say that he'll disappear for long stretches of time, and then there'll be games where there'll be weeks or 2 weeks at a time where he's just leading the team all the time. And that's why Team Canada has gone with him in the past, because they know that his top side potential is that of a player who belongs on Team Canada. That's something that's pretty significant when you think about the fact that how many great players there are on Team Canada. There are potentially for Team Canada, but and he has played really well for Team Canada at times. So his top side potential is crazy good. I think that at some point, my question is Ottawa going to be taken more seriously than they have been by all of us? Does this make us take them more seriously, or are we looking at a situation where they're still
look,
on the edge?
Duchene or Brassard will be the number one. I'm assuming Duchene will eventually be the number one. It doesn't change that drastically, because it's not like Taurus is a bad player. It'll add more goals. So they've added some goals to their team, which I think they need, because without having Colin White there, and we don't know how long he'll be out, I think they were counting on a little bit of offense from him.
Oh, yeah.
Still, they're going to be dependent on a certain amount of offense from the blue line and great goaltending from Anderson. So they're still a bubble team. I I can't automatically put them in the playoffs yet.
Yeah. I mean, and this though, I think though, when we look at let's look at the division for a second. So Toronto's coming back down to earth a little bit. They're
their defense is starting to show some wear.
Yep, and that's to be expected, right? They came out of the gate flying. Yep. Tampa is going to run away with it. It looks like, they're so solid. I mean, injuries and
they're the real deal. We kind of knew that though.
Yeah, you guys did. I had to put Toronto.
You had a few reservations, but that's okay.
I just put Toronto ahead of them a little bit. Time will tell. Yeah. Montreal and Florida, are both teams that have been interesting this year. Montreal has. I mean, they're obviously not there yet, but they've picked it up, right? They've scored
picked it up.
Like crazy over the last. Yesterday's game was really impressive. I watched a little bit of Montreal, Chicago last night. I was impressed by the way the team played. I mean, not to mention they get a shutout by their backup, but and Price has been sort of all over the map. But the fact that they're scoring goals like they're scoring goals right now is hugely encouraging. And they are still trying to make a deal. Like they're still trying to, but I wonder if this pushes them even further. I don't think they were really in on Duchene since the summer.
Yeah, they're only 3 points out of a playoff spot, so they're okay. But they do need goal scoring. Their differential is still -14. It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, the name I keep hearing being brought up with them and a little bit with the Rangers is Marchessault. Marchessault from out.
Marchessault, yeah.
Who's going to be a UFA. And I hear the Rangers and Montreal. He's not a big player, obviously. He's a small guy.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like also, I know the second I put that rumor out there, and it was right away. Of course, people are going to talk about this is Montreal going after another smallish forward, right? But a really skilled, talented guy too, who I believe, you would think the Vegas would want to hold on to him. He's off to a really good start, but we'll see. Time will tell on that.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys. I don't know if he's a guy that they look at having 5 years down the road. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think he was. When you pick up a guy like that, especially who is going to be a UFA at the end of the year, and you're a expansion team, you're looking to trade him at some point. In all likelihood. So that's where they're looking right now. And I've also heard them mention, and I talked. I don't know if you guys talked about what I wrote, but the concept of probably not because it was over the weekend. Sanheim, that Montreal's been looking at Travis Sanheim a lot. And I was told this, several times that the idea of a Galchenyuk for Sanheim swap had been thrown around there.
The thing is, okay, I mean, I'm trying to think from the Marchessault standpoint.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if the Rangers are looking for that. I actually think when the Rangers were talking about Shaw, it made more sense because they've been trying to get bigger. I really don't think they're looking to get another smaller guy.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing there. But he is a center, so I get that. But I don't think they want another small center. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think Rangers make sense there. But now Sanheim getting dealt is also tenuous because the Flyers keep getting banged up on the blue line. Even Hag was holding his wrist, even though he's still playing. But he got banged up the other day. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Flyers can afford to trade Sanheim right now.
Yeah.
At the deadline, if they're all healthy, they might be able to.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they're all healthy, it depends on, how much the Flyers feel like they need more offense, I guess, is the bottom line. And that is the question.
I mean, Vopel has been adding some pretty good offense that I think you and I knew would be there, but I think a lot of people just poo-pooed him when he was taken in that deal, and he only had a small window last year to try and fit in, and it looked okay at times, but now this year he looks like the player he was in Detroit. Yeah,
he's actually proven himself to be that was an incredible trade when you look back on it for the Flyers.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. I mean, it was just, and it was something that Tampa had to do because they were running out of space. So, but it was just a great deal, and he's given the Flyers time to to let some of the rookies come along slower and not put all the pressure on them too, which is also hugely helpful for them. But yeah, I think that at some point, Galchenyuk's name is the one that's thrown around out there, a lot. And, again, not the biggest guy in the world either, but still, he's playing better. Some of the points are not always coming from him, but when watching him last night against Chicago, I was impressed that Galchenyuk seemed to be doing a lot of the smaller things really well, which is good. Like, he was clearing, he was getting his first passes were good, that kind of stuff. So, I think that that is an intriguing player for the Flyers, Galchenyuk. He could fit in with them.
He could, but I think Philly is a better spot than New York, because when we talked about some of those other things that whether they're true or not with Galchenyuk, certainly New York is not a great place to be. And so, but Philly, I think they could run a pretty tight ship, and that would be good. And I think there's a lot of guys that he could bond with there. So, yeah, I think Philly would make sense. But again, if you put him in, are you putting him as a center or are you putting him in as a winger? Uh-oh. You froze. I'm not sure. See, that's why I think it depends on, are we putting him in as a center or as a winger in Philly? I think that's the big deal. So, but I could see him getting them. Not sure if I'm still being broadcast. So we'll give this a minute. We're having a technical difficulty for sure. Okay, so actually, X said he'll be right back. I would think, based on the fairly good center strength of Philly, that they would have to make him a winger. So, we'll see if they do that. That would be an interesting thing. But Sanheim, he's just starting to pull it together. He is. Now, somebody did tweet to me about Hammond saying he's definitely in Colorado still, but that's fine. Still doesn't mean he won't get dealt. And of course, the same guy didn't like that I'm saying what I've said about Saros, but I've supported Saros up to this point. But the problem is, since the Stanley Cup and since the 0-3 with an .817 save percentage, he's got to show me more than that. And I get that this guy is saying what he's saying about him. That's fine. But look at Jonas Enroth. I mean, he basically, after like 3 games, was discarded in Toronto. And I think we all know Pekka Rinne's got to get a break. You can't have Pekka Rinne playing 1,000,000 games. You just can't. That's a problem. So they're going to need good backup goaltending. So I'm looking in the chat room and I see, Griffin Reinhart. Yeah, I'm still not going to throw dirt on Griffin Reinhart. We'll see. I mean, he's changed organizations. There's so many guys that come in and all of a sudden by the age of 25 do something. And then you go look at it, and a lot of them are defensemen. So Griffin Reinhart, I'm not ready to totally throw dirt on yet. I'm just not going to do it. The Islanders did turn that into Barzal. Barzal's a heck of a player. I mean, I like him. I like his speed. I like what he brings to the lineup, the creativity. Matt Barzal is going to be a really great NHL player. No question about it. Still doesn't mean Reinhart won't ever make it, though. So I'm not ready to go there. So, all right, so now I'm being asked by Brandon, what do you think the Rangers are going to – when do I think the Rangers are going to make a move? The time to do so would be tomorrow. Yeah, but the problem is I don't know if they're able to do that tomorrow. Like, who are they really – what assets are they giving up? Are you ready to give up Buchnevich? Is that the guy now that you're going to just trade off because – they are starting to win. And now that they're starting to win, maybe you trade Brendan Smith. Maybe he's going to be the guy that gets dealt, or at some point he's going to get worked back into the lineup. But, there's nothing really down on the farm anybody wants that they're going to want in a trade. So really, if you're trading from the major league roster, you're trading from the Rangers, you're talking about Kreider, you're talking about Shea, you're talking about Buchnevich. Like, those are the guys teams would ask for. Who are you willing to give up? I don't think they should make any trades. I don't know if he's sitting tonight. I haven't seen anything about what lines are being run out and everything else. But, I'm just saying I wouldn't make any move there. Not yet. They're just starting to get it going. But I will say this. The thing that they've done great with Shattenkirk is he is a weapon in 3-on-3 overtime. And that's what I kept telling people. You just got to find the right spot for him to play defensively for a certain amount of minutes a game, and then every power play, and maybe not play him late in the game if you feel like, last 3 minutes you don't want him on the ice. But you can see, offensively, he's a weapon, especially 3-on-3 with that little extra open ice. He's pretty great. But at any rate, I don't know if Eck is going to be back. So if you have any other questions, roll them in now, because then I'm going to head out. I got to tape my my Sirius XM show today. I'll wait a second, see what else we got. Drop in the plate said the price seems a little steep for tourists. Yeah, you know what? But they got tourists locked up. They have cost certainty. So I don't think it's overly steep. I mean, Sam Girard is not proven, but I think he's going to be really good. But that's okay. I mean, I don't think the price is overly steep. I mean, I think the fact that you got tourists locked up to a pretty friendly deal, because again, people look at that and say $6 million is a lot, but you know what? You're talking about the top centers in the league getting like 8 and 10 and 10.5 and 11. Those are the kinds of numbers that top centers get and will get. So I think when you're looking at 6, Tourist is even telling you, yeah, I get it. I'm sort of in between a 1 and a 2, like a 1A. So I don't think the salary's too out of whack there. I don't. All right, if you guys don't have any other questions, wait. Do I think the Oilers will make a move next? They got destroyed yesterday by the Red Wings. The Oilers do have a problem. There's no question. I've been watching more Oilers games, and even Clefbaum seems to have woken up a little, but their offense is just not what it should be. They need really a couple of different things, but they need more scoring from the blue line. But they're probably not going to be able to get that, right? They've been trading for that. So, yeah, I think the Oilers could use – it's a question, again, do you want to get them a center or a winger? I would like to see them get a winger. I would. I think Draisaitl needs to be the permanent second-line center. Put Nugent Hopkins as that third-line center and get another winger that has some speed that can make a difference.
Way to go, Russ. Sorry.
I wasn't going to fill for much longer, but
that was beautiful. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah. But then they were just asking me about Edmonton, and I said I'd like to see Draisaitl be the permanent second-line center and get a winger if you're going to get somebody. They really do need more scoring from the blue line, but I don't think they're going to be able to add that right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Not yet, at least. I mean, there's definitely talk about them trying to. They are really. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of chips to deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is I don't think that some people are saying, oh, Edmonton just last year was a fluke. I don't think this is the case. I think this is the fluke. Honestly, I really do. I think that they'll get it together at some point here. I mean, last year when you think about what they did without without Nurse and all this stuff, it was interesting how different it is right now and where they are. But they're going to get there. They're going to get there for sure. So by the way, Russ, I heard I for some reason, because I was driving around picking up stuff for my son and taking him to various doctors' things this weekend. I must have heard the Prospects radio show every minute it was on, both Saturday and Sunday.
Sorry.
I think I've committed. No, it's amazing. Amazing show. I think I've committed to memory, basically, this past show. So no, it was really good. It's always really good. It's
funny. That's how people listen to us mainly, is in the car doing errands. It's funny.
Well, you honestly might have one of the best time slots on XM because
it's true.
Really, because during the day, once people get to work, who can really listen at work?
Right.
Everybody is driving around all day at that particular time, on Saturdays and Sunday mornings.
If you're a soccer mom or a soccer dad or you're running errands on a Saturday, it's true.
Yeah. It's really a great time.
Or Sunday morning early, like you're going out getting bagels or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's constant. So, and I always look forward to it. I've even figured out your pattern, like that. Shane asks a question, the guy responds, you respond to him. I figured it's
not hard to figure out.
No, but it's like it's just getting the whole thing. It's very good. Chris Drury was really good. I thought that.
Yeah, Drury is really good. He was.
Yeah, Conroy was good too. They're both really. They're both really solid. You definitely have like an assistant. It's like should be called like the assistant GM show sometimes.
It should be sometimes. I mean, and a lot of times guys go on there like Pierre Dorian was the assistant GM and came to GM and still did like 1 or 2 more episodes because he really liked the show. And then he said, okay, now I'm going to hand it off to my guys. But I wanted to do it to say, hey, I really like the show. So these guys, they like talking about their prospects. They do.
It's on TSN as well, right?
It is. It's on TSN as well. And you can get it on permanent podcast on TSN, but it's always a little behind. So like if the show aired yesterday, it'll take a couple days.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard it, it's called the Hockey Prospect Show, right?
Yeah, Hockey Prospect Radio. Yep.
Hockey Prospects Radio. Yeah, if you haven't listened, just Google it, listen to it. I mean, it's funny because I can't tell you, and of course you know this, but it's one of these things like the insiders within the world have to listen to, and like that, that you are listened to, I think, by more like actual people on teams probably than any other show too. Like,
we have a pretty big following amongst like scouts and GMs and assistant GMs.
It's like a must. It's a must see for like GMs and prospects too. Like a lot of prospects.
Yes, prospects do know about it.
I mean, they all listen, and because they want to. I really think you guys have like a lot of power sometimes, because it's like you know who you bring up and who you talk about sometimes. Because I know that I'm sure you've gotten many prospects saying, "Hey, thanks for talking about it," or whatever. Because there's no question that
actually, they acknowledge us. I've never heard anybody I don't remember anybody thanking me, but it's okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, because they should be thanking you, because it's good. I mean, you do a good job, and you get a lot of things like this is the stuff that you really can't hear about anywhere else. And
we do. Surprisingly, we do get some good things once in a while where, even if it's not spelled out, you could find some insights that will help you down the road.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, for me, it's huge too. Just from the idea of of hearing when you know where your teams are going with their prospects, where they're going to head with trades. It's often kind of it's connected.
Every once in a while, a GM will actually tell us exactly what he was thinking when he drafted his first round pick, what they were looking for, what they took, and you don't get that very often.
They are, and I think they're just, I don't know, maybe they think it's so funny. They have you guys relax them in such a way that they say things that I'm always surprised that they say. Like sometimes they'll say, well, yeah, he's, not tough enough around the net yet, or what, just something that, you're just like, okay, that's.
You know what it is? I think with that, it's just when you're a scout, like when these guys are scouting, they see the strengths and weaknesses, and they know, like every prospect has weaknesses. Unless you're Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid, you're going to have weaknesses. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not afraid to talk about it, which is cool.
It is impressive, and it's very, very impressive. And I really think that it should be. You guys should definitely check it out. You can get it on TSN Permanent Podcast, is right. Or if you have XM, you can of course listen to it. I don't think is an XM podcast on the app. I don't know if it is or not.
No, it's not.
I wish it was.
Podcast it.
Yeah, they should. That should be something they should definitely.
But
it is definitely it's definitely one of those things that is a must for somebody who's like reading, who watches Hockey Buzz, or comes to Hockey Buzz, because I know you guys out there. You guys are the diehards when it comes to these kind of things. And if you're I have to make sure, like, I could miss a couple seconds and I'm behind all of you. This last week I realized that very quickly, because it's just, the more I had to take care of my son in different situations.
Oh yeah.
The more you realize that, if I'm not keeping up with it, man, the hockey world is flying by you, because it's happening so fast, and your show can get you caught up a lot. So Hockey Prospects Radio, check it out, TSN.
I mean, even just this morning, I'm updating stuff from a tournament to put on to the show notes.
That's great. No, it's really great. We're lucky to have Russ as a prospect, on this show too. But man, what you do there is really, it's so unique, and it's really something else. So
thanks. I will say this though, filling while you're gone is harder than that show. Just gonna say it. It's almost out of material.
I appreciate that. No, and I know I appreciate that. Mike's texts make that pretty abundantly clear. If you don't show up today, we're screwed. No, but no, we're good. You guys did an incredible job, and hopefully this week we'll get back to somewhat normalcy. But that's really all I got for today, guys. It's 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And we'll be back again tomorrow at some point. Keep in touch. Keep in touch. Just follow me on Twitter, Eklund at Eklund. Follow Russ at Sportsology, at Mike in Buffalo. Or you can follow the names there. We'll kind of keep you updated as to when we're going to do the show. Of course, you can always go to the blog. At some point, it's going to be on there. And that's the best place to check it out. We really appreciate your support on Patreon. A couple of you guys joined last month. We really thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So if you go to patreon.com/hockey, you can help. Just give a couple bucks to the show. Really, really helps us move along here. It helps keep everybody going. And, we won't have to be able to get Mike out of the witness protection program if you do that too, which is good. So we'll try to get him. Every time Mike broadcasts from Toronto, I get from behind the wall, I get that he's
somewhere in Toronto.
Yes, is Mike living out of his car was my favorite question we got asked last year, by the way.
Yeah.
Mike is living in his car now. Yep. All right. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the games tonight. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.